Prabowo Subianto, the new soon-to-be Indonesian president, has been making headlines all over the world as the next president. But who exactly is Prabowo Subianto? And what led him to becoming the president? And why do some remain apprehensive about his leadership? Well, let's discuss that right now. So, Prabowo Subianto was born in 1951. He would grow up and have a very notable military career, including leadership roles in the Special Forces and the Strategic Reserve Command of Indonesia. This was also during the time of Suharto, who many considered to be a military dictator that conducted some of Indonesia's worst crimes, especially its occupation of East Timor. Subianto was in the Special Forces, the Kopassus, during this time and has been linked to crimes committed during this period according to some sources. However, his biggest controversy comes from his involvement in the kidnapping of activists just before the May 1998 riots. So I won't go into too much detail, but pretty much the May 1998 riots were riots in response to economic troubles, mass unemployment, corruption, and would lead to the eventual resignation of Suharto. But it was what Subianto did before these riots that has people concerned. See, Subianto, who was in the Strategic Reserve Command, would contact some of his buddies in the Kopassus, the Special Forces, to help him, kidnap at least 9 democratic activists who would be moved to an unnamed location and promptly tortured. This would lead to his dishonorable discharge of his military duties and a travel ban to the United States due to these human rights violations. He would then voluntarily exile himself to Jordan, where he would never be seen again. Just kidding, he would come back to try and become the president of Indonesia by trying to become the candidate for presidency of the Golkar party, but he would come dead last. Not so good. However, he was still determined in his goal to become the president of Indonesia. And so 4 years later, he would form the Gerindra party, a party that was characterized as a right-wing nationalist party. With this party, he would go on to run unsuccessfully as vice president in 2009, securing only about 26% of the vote. Not to be discouraged by this failure, he would become the presidential candidate for the party and run for the 2014 Indonesian elections, gaining 46% of the vote. A almost double increase of the vote. Pretty good. But he would lose to Joko Widodo. But again, not to be discouraged, he waited 5 years until 2019 to run again, gaining an impressive 45% of the votes, just to lose again to, you guessed it, Joko Widodo, also known as Jokowi. Now, this time he was not too happy about these results and contested them and claimed election fraud, which would lead to protests and, hold on, this sounds familiar. However, he would eventually concede defeat and be offered a spot as defense minister alongside Jokowi. This would be considered a major shift in his political stance and would be seen by many as a push towards national unity. Jokowi would go on to be a popular president that is remembered for his economic growth, infrastructure plans such as the new capital city, Nusantara. This would be great for Subianto, as he would be working right there with Jokowi as his defense minister and would help Subianto's image. Subianto, going into the 2024 elections, would also choose Jokowi's son as his running mate to further solidify the sort of continuation of Jokowi's popular presidency, with Subianto also gaining the open support of Jokowi. Now, moreover, Subianto would also pull back on some of his more extreme rhetoric to try and appeal to the more moderate voters, as well as changing his image from the guy who, kidnapped and tortured activists, blah blah blah, to quote, a lovable grandpa. He would also appeal to the young voters by being on TikTok, which would work out very well for him, as in a poll conducted just before the elections, he was suspected to gain 51% of the votes. However, despite his victory, concerns about Subianto's past and his political methods linger. These aspects will continue to fuel debates about his leadership and the future direction of Indonesia under his governance. The real test will be how he addresses the nation's challenges and responds to the concerns about his past. And so that was Prabowo Subianto. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.